Imagine your perfect vacation. Relaxing, good food, decently affordable, low stress, simple to plan, simple to pay for. Or did you picture the exact opposite? Constant stress, mediocre food that costs way more than it should, scarcity, and the haunting feeling that every fun thing you want to do is hiding behind another paywall. That's apparently what Disney thinks makes a good vacation, and people still sign up and fork over massive amounts of money for it. So today I want to pull back the curtain on how Disney has systematically turned the most magical place on Earth into a masterclass in late-stage capitalism fueled by predatory consumerism and manufactured stress. Let's get into it. Going on a vacation to Disney World has gotten insanely expensive. And the thing is, it wasn't always this way. How do I know that? Because I was a Disney kid. So I'm not making this video just to bash on Disney. I loved it growing up. Here's some pics of me wearing different Disney shirts featuring the various ways I cut my own hair, which to this day I still cut my own hair. Don't say you can tell. So this isn't me ripping on Disney adults or parents. It's actually the opposite. I don't blame the consumers at all. I blame the greedy corporation that is the Walt Disney Company, which we'll get into later. But first, I want to go back and look at some more pictures of myself. So that's 7-year-old me at Disney World. Look at how cute I was. I had no idea of the horrors that would await me as an adult. Look at me getting to meet Mickey and hugging him. Back then, I didn't hug anyone. Yet here, I had no problems hugging a stranger who was likely sweating their ass off in a costume that has enough insulation to survive winter, yet somehow deemed appropriate for the 95-degree Florida heat. And I remember the feeling I had, that magic. I truly believed that was Mickey, and I was getting his autograph. I got to meet his wife Minnie, his best friend Pluto. Look how happy I was to meet Pluto. And look, here's me climbing this web obstacle course thing, and there's this man blocking me on my way to the top, which is something that has happened to me pretty often as a woman in today's society. I haven't really got away from that, but look at me meeting Goofy. I was not happy to meet Goofy. I did not like that guy. I got to meet Chip or Dale. I can't remember which one, but what is he doing? Is he beckoning me under some sort of woodland hypnosis? I created lots of core memories from that experience, and when I look at these photos, I'm transferred back to a simpler, happier time. But the Disney I knew back then versus now are two completely different things. Let's get into what's changed. Back in the 90s, Disney World had 3 ticketing options. Option 1 featured tickets on a per-day basis, where you got to visit one park each day. Option 2 featured park hopper tickets, which allowed you to visit multiple parks in one day. And option 3 featured an annual pass called Annual Passport, which allowed you to visit the park as often as you liked within a year. That's it. That's how 90s Disney structured their pricing. And it was pretty simple and straightforward. Compare that to now, where we're still offered those 3 same options that we had in the 90s, only now there's a bunch more thrown on top of it to make it unnecessarily complicated. First of all, which days are you going? Because that's apparently something you have to care about now. Because Disney introduced date-based ticket pricing in 2016. Do you want shorter lines? Well, that's called lightning lanes, and you have to pay extra for it. It used to be free. And within the lightning lane system, there's multi-pass, single pass, and premier pass, all depending on which ride, park, and day you want to go. Oh, and are you staying at a Disney hotel? Because that also affects the booking windows and perks you get. Also, do you know which lightning lane type you want? Because of course that has to be more complicated. They charge different rates based on which one you choose, and you only get the ability to reserve and pay for your lightning lane passes 7 days prior to your check-in if you're staying at a very expensive Disney resort. And if you choose to save money by staying at a non-Disney hotel, well, then you're punished, and you get to reserve your ride selections only 3 days prior to when you enter the park. And are you using the shitty app? Well, you have to in order to manage the overly complicated clusterfuck that is now the Disney experience. On top of how unnecessarily complicated the ticket buying process already is, the ticket prices have skyrocketed to outpace inflation. Back when I went in the 90s, the price of a one-day ticket was $35.90, which when I type it into the CPI inflation calculator, it comes to $81.57 in today's dollars. If you compare that to today's one-day ticket, which costs $119 a day, that amounts to $37.43 more than it should cost. Actually, you, that's not what it costs. Because when you go to the calendar to actually purchase it, it costs $164. Plus. Oh, now I know what the plus stands for in Disney Plus. It means that there are additional upcharges for no reason other than corporate greed. And when I scrolled further down to see what the prices actually meant, the tickets can get as expensive as $189 for a single day ticket. And that's not even including the cost of the lightning lane yet. Do you see how this is getting out of control? control. So the $119 plus advertised price technically isn't lying, but it's way more than $119. So this is yet another shady way that Disney presents pricing in order to bait and confuse its customers.
Today's a big day as prices for tickets in 2026 have come out for Walt Disney World, and the numbers have officially surpassed $200. That's for one park, mind you. If you wanted to visit more than one of Walt Disney World's parks on a busy day next year, after tax, yeah, it just topped $300.
So Disney vacations have not only gotten insanely expensive, but Disney has turned childhood magic into a confusing, upcharge-filled luxury product where the cost of entry is only the beginning. And prices for the Walt Disney World Annual Pass have gotten so out of control. Looking at this year's pricing program, which is also tiered and confusing, because of course it is, we have split pricing depending on if you're a Florida resident or not, with different perks for each tier. And the most expensive Disney World Annual Pass comes to $1,629 plus. And that's not even the worst of it. The most expensive Disneyland Annual Pass costs nearly $2,000. Hey, but the good news is, it pays for itself in 11 visits. 11 visits? That's going nearly once a month if you spread it out over the course of a year. And that is if you can find time in your busy work schedule to make it there 11 times a year to just break even on the cost of admission. Because guess what? It's still subject to blackout dates. So thanks for your money and you. And that doesn't even include all the extra money you'll spend during those 11 visits, because unless you're bringing your own snacks, your own water, and the spiritual strength to reject every lightning lane, Disney has already made sure that the money you're spending does not stop at the gate.
Here's how much we spent for 1 week at Disney World visiting all 4 parks. Starting off with park tickets, we bought a 4-day, 1 park per day ticket, which came out to $663 per person. I'm crying just saying that out loud. Oh, we also attended Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party one night at Magic Kingdom, which was a separate ticketed event, coming out to $243.89 per person. For our hotel, we stayed on property at the Pop Century Resort, and for 5 nights, it came out to $1,752.98. So split amongst 2 people, that was $876.49 per person. One of our biggest expenses of this trip was actually food. Altogether, we spent $900.41 on food across all 4 parks, which is $450.20 per person. Another big expense of ours this trip was Lightning Lane, because when you have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to visit Disney World, time is money, and I had to make sure we were able to get on everything we wanted to do. So for Lightning Lane multi-passes for each park, plus single passes for these 4 rides on the screen, we spent a total of $426.04, or $213.02 per person. Moving on to merch, I spent $178.59. So now for the grand total on a 5-day trip visiting all 4 parks at Disney World, including flights, hotel, park tickets, and in-park purchases, we spent $6,191.89.
You know, it's funny because a mouse is usually prey, but Mickey Mouse is predatory. Which brings me to my next question. Why would people even do this? I don't think people are stupid for wanting Disney. I think Disney is very good at exploiting normal human emotions. First, we have nostalgia and emotional branding. Disney weaponizes your nostalgia and uses it as bait. It connects people to childhood memories, even if the actual trip is nothing like they remember. Disney has trained people to associate its parks with childhood, happiness, family, and magic. And next, we have parental guilt and the rite of passage. Not to be confused with flight of passage. Many families treat Disney as something you're just supposed to do at least once with your kids. Within that, you have this notion of parental guilt. Parents may feel like giving their kids Disney memories proves that they're giving them a good childhood. And I'm here to argue that it's not your fault that you're stressed to provide this. It is by design. And you have the classic fear of missing out, or FOMO, where the window of when your kids would remember and appreciate a Disney vacation is relatively small and ticking away. And the Disney company takes advantage of this.
If you're waiting until they remember it, you're missing the entire point. Let's chat Disney. I took my kids before they were 1, and people said they're not gonna remember it, but I will. I'll remember their faces when they first saw Mickey or Minnie or a princess. It's amazing. The way they danced during the parades and waved at each character like they're really real. Disney at that age isn't about them remembering. It's about the moment that they're in.
So a Disney vacation feels time time sensitive in a way that normal vacations don't. And speaking of this, some families feel pressured to take their kids when they're young in order to reduce FOMO, but they often can't afford it. So they go into debt by putting their trip on a high-interest credit card in order to pay for something because of that time-sensitive nature. So this isn't just me complaining about the soaring prices. People are going into debt over this.
This is part 3 of how we got into massive debt, and this is one of my most embarrassing debts that we have. A few years ago, our family took a trip to Disney and we impulsively purchased the Disney Vacation Club. The total cost of financing was around $27,000. Now, was this stupid? Yes, I know that. But I promise you, our hearts were in a good place, but like our financial literacy was zero. And then one super hot sunny day while we were there, we ended up at one of the DVC informational like booths where they have fans and water and they're like trying to draw you in, obviously. And we had just gone under there to get out of the sun for a few minutes. Of course, the representative starts talking to us about all the details and everything. And my husband and I are just so gullible, and we very quickly got suckered in. We went on a tour and saw the different DVC resorts and how beautiful they are. But more than just how beautiful they are, it makes access to like the suites that can fit large families a lot easier in comparison to just getting 2 rooms or getting a suite like at market value. So obviously we didn't have the money to pay for something like this in full. We never should have financed it. But our thinking at the time was, if we're going to keep being foster parents and we're always going to have lots of kids in our family, which when we were foster parents, we averaged having 5 kids at a time. So if we knew we were going to continue to be a large family, we wanted to know that we would still be able to travel and be able to take the kids with us. There are respite services, so that way foster kids don't have to travel with you, but that's just not what we want to do. If they're living with us and we're going on vacation, they're coming with us. I also should add that we didn't have anywhere near as much consumer debt at the time compared to what we have now. We just foolishly thought that this would be a good investment and give us an opportunity to travel with a lot of kids. Am I proud of this purchase? No. Was it necessary? No. So we have looked into selling it, but we're currently upside down in our loan. If we were to try to sell it right now, we would actually have to pay $10,000 to have the loan fully paid off and be able to like release the title of it.
The reason why I'm spending money on it is because I feel like I lost out on my childhood just not being able to have things like this, you know? Like, just
shut the fuck up. I think 8 years at Disney should kind of make up for a lot of that.
8 years at Disney?
We've had Disney passes for 8 years.
You can't afford anything. He's about to fucking walk and you're choosing Mickey?
First of all, could Caleb Hammer be any more rude to these people? He's so insufferable. He's essentially going in on the woman while seemingly ignoring her partner. Bro is wearing a Pokemon shirt that says Baja Blastoise. I wish Caleb Hammer would let people like what they like. Is he gonna ask this guy how much he spends on glorified pieces of cardboard? I'm not judging because I too am infected by the pestilence. So setting Caleb Hammer's douchey-ass hand gestures and lack of emotional intelligence aside, I honestly feel bad for these people. While it's easy to criticize individual choices, and some people do it quite loudly,
Shut the fuck up.
we have to ask why the pull of the magic is so strong that people are willing to risk their financial stability for it. The host here is so focused on the bad math, but I want to look at the bad system that makes a family feel like they're failing if they don't provide the specific high-cost experience. So we have the Disney magic. Disney knows that you're going to pay through the nose to ensure that your family has a good time, so you pay for the convenience of transportation, staying on property, which is a whole crazy expensive thing on its own, early theme park entry, extended evening hours, and experiences like Savi's Workshop or the Droid Depot, and we have manufactured scarcity. So the high cost, reservations, limited ride access, and the once-in-a-lifetime framing make the whole vacation feel urgent. It's the idea that, hey, you only get to do this trip once, so you might as well go all out, right?
Here's what a day at Disney cost me for a family of 5. Before we even got into the park, it cost me $30 just for parking. And even being a Florida resident, tickets for a family of 5 with one child under 10 was still $974. Paying for the Lightning Lane was $35 per person and only would have given us speed access to 3 rides, so we opted out of that. Right after our first ride, we bought 2 waters and 3 ice creams. This totaled $29.50. After the second ride, they wanted a pretzel and I wanted a beer. This was another $19. So we went to the Brown Derby where we could sit down for a little bit and order a decent meal. They didn't like the options and the prices were outrageous, so we left and went somewhere else. We each ended up with a small pizza, each had a side and a small drink, totaling $44.35. Once we got to Star Wars Land, we had to buy some blue milk for $10.29. After the next ride, we went and had a churro, a water, and a margarita. It had been a long day at this point. That margarita was well needed. This was another $36. $30 for carnitas, $19 margarita, $8 corn, $30 carne asada, totaling $245 $1,000.27 for dinner. The grand total for our day was $1,391.91.
And the pricing is intentionally confusing. It starts expensive, and then it keeps getting more expensive due to the microtransactions. Tickets, park hopper options, water park add-ons, the lightning lane, dynamic pricing, reservations, and virtual queues all make it hard to figure out what the trip is actually going to cost you. So in summary, Disney takes an already expensive vacation and adds confusing attraction systems, artificial scarcity, and a parade of upcharges, and then sprinkles some pixie dust on it and calls it magic. And on top of all that, what's the prize? That you get to travel to Florida, the penis of America?
Florida, the penis of America. Florida, the penis of America.
So my question isn't just, why are people taking on so much debt? I also want to know, is Disney actually worth what it costs now? Because booking a Disney vacation isn't a matter of just a few clicks and a credit card anymore. You now have to plan, reserve, calculate prices, they're confusing on top of it, strategize rides, and basically do project management, which is ironic because it feels like work and you're actively trying to get away from work by going on vacation. Like I mentioned earlier, the ride systems used to be free and now you have to pay. So if you're already spending thousands of dollars on the vacation, why would you do all the researching, planning, booking, and paying just to get all the way to the penis of America to not go on the rides you want to go on? Disney knows this, and that's why they're upcharging you for it. Because after all of this, and this is what actually prompted me to make this video, it's actually cheaper to fly to Tokyo Disney, go to the theme park, ride the rides, eat the food, buy the merch, and have pretty much the same experience for cheaper.
So apparently, it is cheaper for an American family to fly to Japan and go to Disneyland than it is to just go to Disneyland California or Orlando, so I decided to fly to Japan to find out for myself. Both Disneyland park hopper tickets, the express passes, the merchandise, the food, the drinks, the transportation, and the cost of my hotel, it comes out to around $250 USD, which is $40 cheaper than one adult ticket to Disneyland California. So for one day relatively the same in Disneyland California as I had at Disneyland Tokyo, it would cost you around $850 USD per day.
That should not be a thing. And this confusing way that they set things up is by design. If it's harder to track spending, then it's easier to overspend. So I found this clip on TikTok of this woman who was interviewed while she was at Walt Disney World, and she revealed that she spent $35,000 on her trip.
And I'm just asking like Disney adults how much they paid for their Disney vacation.
Oh no. Am I going to be like on camera or you're just like taking data?
It's up to you.
No, I don't want my face on there.
Okay.
About $35,000.
$35,000, wow.
Why does she not want to be seen on camera? Is it because she's embarrassed for spending so much money? That's a whole ass car. So debt is part of the Disney ecosystem. And Disney makes it very easy to finance a trip while making the actual cost of the trip difficult to understand. And of course they upsell everything. Magic bands, annual passes, Disney Vacation Club timeshares, premier passes, and even extended stays are all examples of Disney extracting more money after guests have already committed. And is this even working for Disney? Let's look into the financial data. So one of Disney's lines of business is acquiring everything under the sun, apparently, no matter how obscure, because they want to make sure they're the ones profiting from every piece of media they can get their grubby little mouse paws on. In 2012, they had one of the biggest franchise acquisitions in their history when they bought Star Wars. So Bob Iger really said, here's some money, go buy a Star Wars. So I don't blame Disney parents or people going into debt over this. I blame Disney because it is predatory. Disney's business model takes advantage of emotional attachment, complexity, and sunk cost pressure in order to maximize consumer spending. And what's this all for? Why did Disney try to squeeze every drop of money it can out of their customers? For a larger profit? Well, no, because this Forbes article reports that Disney's theme park division reports the lowest profit in 2 years. And if we look at the overall financial data of the company, we can see that growth has plummeted in recent years. Good. Hope it was worth it to piss off your loyal customer base and nearly financially ruin them. All for what? You aren't even doing capitalism right, Disney. Not that I want you to succeed there, but the patrons are getting a worse experience and not going back. So the sharp increase in prices might have looked good for the shareholders that Disney worships, but in reality, it didn't really pan out in their favor. They lost money, and Disney has ensured that the vacation attraction stays in the once-in-a-lifetime category by making it so expensive that it rivals the cost of a car and ruining the magic so no one ever wants to come back. And here's the part that feels so bleak. Disney spent decades teaching people that this place was childhood, family, happiness, and magic. And then they took that emotional attachment, ran it through a pricing algorithm, and added 3 tiers of line skipping, slapped a plus on it, and acted surprised when people were asking if the magic was still worth it. So at the end of the day, that 7-year-old version of me, the one who hugged Mickey and thought he was real, wasn't wrong to find the magic. But that magic was a gift, not a transaction. And today, Disney has turned that gift into a debt trap. We can still love the stories, but we have to stop letting our nostalgia blind us to the fact that the mouse is no longer playing fair. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments if you have any Disney World stories or what you think of this whole thing. Thanks for watching. Bye.